Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. A verdict has been reached in the Nathaniel Veltman trial. We have reaction on that tonight. Plus, a Windsor woman is asking the city to keep a park area more clean after she says her dog may have ingested something that caused a seizure. And the Lemington Raceway has had its best season ever. We share with you why organizers say that is and what it means for our local economy. Our top story tonight, the jury has found Nathaniel Veltman guilty in the deadly attack on a Muslim family in London nearly 2.5 years ago. The verdict drew emotional reaction inside the Windsor courtroom today, and many in the community say the healing itself may take much longer. The CBC's Chris Ensing reports.
Inside the courtroom, gasps and tears as the jury announced its verdict. Nathaniel Veltman guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. On June 6, 2021, Veltman used his truck to kill 4 members of the Afzal family, murdering 3 generations of the Pakistani Muslim family and seriously injuring a 9-year-old boy. The jury's decision was made after 6 hours of deliberation, reviewing 10 weeks of evidence introduced at trial, including a video confession to officers hours after the attack and pieces of a manifesto written to share his white national beliefs. The Crown said that Veltman did this to send a brutal message to Muslims and to intimidate them. Outside the courthouse, relatives thanked the Crown while asking people to reflect on the night of the attack nearly 2.5 years ago.
This trial forced us to return to that intersection once again. The dreadful crossroads where the very best and worst of humanity converged 2.5 years ago.
You can't deny the feelings of fear that people might experience, but this is an important step towards making our streets safer. And the fear is real. We have many of our community members who are visibly Muslim, and they continue to express, fears of walking down the street.
Today, the defense said that they will consider all of their options moving forward. We're expecting that a sentencing hearing will take place in December. Veltman will be given life with no chance to apply for parole for 25 years. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Windsor is receiving $2.7 million to try and address the root cause of gun crime and gang violence in the area. The money from the federal government is being directed toward youth-oriented programs and services.
Whenever there's violent crime that takes place, or gun crime or gang crime, it always shatters that sense of security in our community. And so the best way to prevent gang and gun violence of the future is to do the work today. This is what it's about. It's about providing our young people that wraparound support early on. It's about intervention. It's about prevention.
It was announced today the City of Windsor will be responsible for distributing the money. Essex County Youth Diversion helps youth who may be at risk. They will be getting some of the funds. And so will New Beginnings, which helps young people dealing with justice issues as well as addiction and mental health problems. Both organizations say this will allow them to expand their reach. For Youth Diversion, they'll now be able to help kids ages 6 to 11 and 18 to 26.
Called the Rebound Life Choices Program. It's a social skills program that addresses a number of different issues in a 10-week cycle, and we're excited to be able to provide that now to kids that are younger and also older than the typical age range that we work with. And when we look at all of these different things, there's not one thing that contributes to gang violence or to violent behavior. There's so many different risk factors that are included, but equipping kids with the tools to make good decisions, to understand that there is positivity out there, that they can do better, that maybe their current situation isn't the end-all, be-all.
The Ambassador Bridge Company wants some types of hazardous goods to be able to cross, and they're seeking approval from the Michigan Department of Transportation to do it. The bridge company wants clearance to handle flammable liquids and corrosive substances. Trucks carrying certain hazardous materials have had to be rerouted to the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia since the truck ferry ceased operating at the end of September. The Gordie Howe International Bridge will allow hazardous materials across when it opens in 2025. MDOT is considering public feedback as well as the emergency response capabilities, existing infrastructure, and assessment of possible exposure. According to the report, MDOT will also consult with Canadian authorities on the change. Public consultation is now open on MDOT's webpage on hazardous material routing until December 23rd. A dog owner on Windsor's east side is asking the city to do more to keep a park in the area clean. Marcy LeBlanc was walking her dog Regal in Tranbury Park when suddenly he started having what is believed to be a seizure. She says people often congregate in the park at night, and after the incident, she found needles on the ground. As the CBC's Jacob Barker reports, that has her calling on the city for additional support.
I thought I lost him. I honestly thought something bad had happened. I didn't know what it was. I turned around and 5 seconds later, he literally collapsed on the ground, convulsing, shaking, paddling his limbs, and basically lost consciousness. His eyes were rolling back, couldn't hear me, nothing. Luckily, I had a family member with me. My uncle picked him up at literally dead weight, put him in my car, and we drove down the street. There was nothing open, so we had to go to an emergency clinic. 3 different types of blood work for him, and basically they resulted in a seizure. So worried, concerned pet mom, I went back later, and I had seen constant garbage and debris, but that day was just like a syringe, drug paraphernalia, broken glass, and unfortunately, I think he picked something up in the park.
You think that Regal ingested something?
I do believe that, yep. Yeah, I do. I do believe that.
He's never had any sort of reaction like that before?
He's 4 months old. No, he's a healthy puppy, and hopefully continue to be today. But now I just watch and worry about what's on the ground, and I worry because there's got to be at least 100 dogs that come here every day, as well as children. It's obviously adjacent to the parking lot, so really watch what's on the ground.
A city spokesperson told the CBC that LeBlanc should first and foremost reach out to 311, which she says she's done. She says they have since cleaned up the park, but hopes they will put the winter gate up soon and install more proper garbage cans around the park for people to use. Well, the Lemington Raceway had its best season ever this year. Betting was up by 30% over the last year. Also up attendance. The CBC's Dale Molnar has that story.
Smile in style, and many million, they're dueling it out.
The Lemington Raceway posted some record-breaking crowds this past season, the highest amounts bet on single race dates, and even the fastest time at the track.
One of the Sundays, 85,000 we bet in one Sunday.
Executive member of the Lakeshore Horse Racing Association, Tom Bain, says they've made some changes to get the crowds in.
We're bringing in a better caliber of racehorses, but we're now appealing to the family. Every Sunday we have some type of family activity, and it's great to see when you can bring in over 1,000 people to the racetrack.
Bain says if the track is doing well, so is the community. He says the horse racing pumps millions of dollars into the local economy.
You've now got to have blacksmiths and veterinarians and grooms, so trainers. It's created a lot of new jobs economically.
Especially in Leamington, where the mayor says it helps local businesses.
It's fantastic news for the community. The spin-off for local businesses, for restaurants, for shopping, for coffee shops, and for gas, anything where people are coming into your community to be entertained and to find things to do.
Farmers like Tammy Meloche benefit too. Her family grows some hay which go to feed the horses. It's not the largest source of income for her farm, but she says it helps pay the bills.
And the cost of fuel and everything else, it'll definitely help offset that if there's more people that are interested in buying our hay.
And the Leamington Agricultural Society, which runs the track, makes about $2,500 per race on food and beverage and fees from the Racing Association. The president says the horse racing makes up about 30% of their budget, and that goes for upkeep of the facilities.
It's what keeps us alive. Well, we are all, our society people are all non-for-profit.
Bain says even though Leamington actually brings in more people than London or Toronto, those tracks get more purse money from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission than Leamington does. Bain says they want to get that changed.
And our purses run around $4,000 to $5,000 a race. When you compare to other tracks like London, they're up 1,000 or 1,500 more per race than us. So we're looking to try to get our purse money increased also.
The association will also be asking the AGCO for 3 more race dates next year, bringing the total to 16. They will make the requests at the beginning of January. They should have an answer by the end of the month. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Lakeshore.
Ontario is increasing wages for childcare workers as it attempts to deal with shortages in the sector. The move comes as the province and federal government have promised 86,000 new childcare spaces by 2026 while implementing $10 a day daycare. Lorenda Redekop has the details.
The minimum salary for early childhood educators will bump up to almost $24 an hour on January 1st, up from the planned $20 an hour, with an extra $1 an hour every year until 2026.
We're talking about a lift in the first year of nearly 19%, which will continue to go up each and every year until 2026. That ends the disparity that existed between our ECEs within our schools and the ECs within our childcare centers.
The government wants to bring in more registered ECEs. It's working with the federal government to ease foreign credential restrictions and make it easier for workers to transfer from other provinces. It's also launching an ad campaign to promote the job of early childhood educator. Education Ministry officials have said the province could be short 8,500 ECEs by 2026. That's the same year Ontario hopes to have 86,000 new spaces under the National Childcare System. Childcare fees have already been cut by 50% for families with children in centres that are part of the national program.
It means parents no longer have to make the decision to pursue their career or put their kids in expensive childcare programs.
Know that the fees are going to keep coming down. We are on track to deliver $10 a day on average by year 2026. We're on track with respect to space creation.
Childcare advocates had been asking for a much larger wage increase, a minimum $30 an hour for registered ECEs, $25 an hour for other childcare staff.
Without those workers, it's not a successful program. And his announcement falls short of addressing the real crisis that workers have been telling this government.
The minister acknowledged there's no wage increase for non-ECE childcare workers, but the government wants to entice them to become registered, adding funding to pay for other childcare staff to get an ECE diploma. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Brampton.
2 local athletes are competing at the Para-Pan Am Games on the national wheelchair rugby team. The competition starts tomorrow. Essex County native Mike Whitehead and Windsor resident Matt Debley are members of the team trying to secure a Paralympic spot for Paris 2024. A vet on the team, it's Whitehead's 3rd Para-Pan Ams, and for Debley, it will be his first. I caught up with the athletes before they left for Chile to talk about the sport and stereotypes.
This is my first multi-sport games appearance, and I'm excited and nervous for the magnitude of everything, and just really focused on taking it all in, enjoying the experience, and playing my role and doing my part.
And I get to enjoy that energy that they're bringing to their first, right? Because it just doesn't get old. It really doesn't.
Great Britain lost in its semifinal.
The competition's fierce. The sport of wheelchair rugby is growing faster than anything I've ever experienced, and that gap is closing among all the top teams. It really could go anybody's way, and it just depends on whose day it is, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that it's our day. Wheelchair rugby is a hybrid of multiple sports. It is 4-on-4, and it's played on a basketball court. We use a volleyball. And the goal is to wheel the ball across the goal line, similar to that of a touchdown or a try in rugby. There's an instant draw to playing such a physical sport when you have a disability, because it's one of the things that we don't have a lot of opportunity to do. And so right away I was drawn to the physical aspect of the game. And honestly, the players, the people, everybody that I've met in this community has been so welcoming and so fun to be around that I just can't leave.
Changing stereotypes one hit at a time. When you see the impact, guys, girls, people with no arms, no legs, people's hands don't work and they're just smashing a chair, then falling over, hitting their face on the floor, getting up and laughing and doing it again. You're like, wait, what is actually going on here? And then, like Matt said, you stay because strategically, I'm still learning to play this game. Strategically, it's mind-boggling how hard it is.
Well, how about those conditions today? Mid-November couldn't get more beautiful than that. There's a live look at the tower cam. It's still nice and warm. Call It Kennedy is back with your weather forecast. That's coming up after the break. Colette, those trees have really shed their leaves now, and today at least was a beautiful day to clean them up.
I mean, some pretty great conditions, right?
They are. Now, I'm a bit more concerned about those people who have to wait until the weekend to do some yard work, and that's actually me. I've been lured to my grandparents to do some yard cleanup.
Oh, you're a good granddaughter.
Well, the promise of a nice dinner, Colette, so.
Oh, okay. They're nice grandparents.
They are, they are.
That sounds like you win.
It might be a little chilly this weekend, I'm thinking, to do that.
You know, the temperatures are going to be kind of knocked back closer to seasonal. And so it's only when we compare it to how mild it is now that it's sort of, then it kind of seems like, oh, darn, why in time for the weekend? But we're looking at a fairly nice weekend all in all. And I'll kind of show you, walk you through all of it. But I just want to start with, I know the sun setting so early, doesn't it? See, it's always hard to adjust to that. So sunrise tomorrow, here you go, 7:25, and the sunset tomorrow, yes, 5:08, and our shrinking daylight hours, we have under 10 hours of daylight a day as we're heading towards December 21st, that shortest day of the year in terms of our daylight. I want to show you the big picture here. Do I need to point out where that cold front is? You can definitely see that cooler air back to the northwest with the winds coming from a different direction. We've been into the milder air, and so those readings much nicer. And as those winds kick up further from the south to southwest, we're actually going to find the temperature coming up again. So in the overnight hours before that front actually reaches us, and then cooler air will be filtering in behind it. So southerly flow right now, not terribly strong, but the winds will be getting stronger. It's pretty gusty right ahead of the front and then just behind it too. Now we have fair conditions, but clouds kind of thickening up, and then a stray shower in the overnight hours is possible, but I'll find most of it coming into the region tomorrow morning, and then through the early afternoon. Then some clouds kind of lag behind like a hangover, and then we get into the clearer skies behind that. We won't have too much of that because of the earlier time for our sun setting, but still, you'll have a little bit of tomorrow afternoon to appreciate, although it will be breezy because of these winds. Some of the gusts, yes, maybe you saw it, they're over 70 kilometers an hour. I think that could be pushing it a little bit. This model might be heightening it a bit, but just know there'll be some breezy conditions. Your overnight temperatures then, see how they're going to be coming back up again as we go towards morning? Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing when they act sort of differently than what you're expecting. And then behind the front, even though we'll get that clearing in the afternoon, those temperatures will be rolling down, and potentially a very cool night Friday night into Saturday. I do think, Meg, that looks like some pretty good weather, though, for raking leaves.
Yeah, lots of sun, so that's promising at least.
Yeah, temperature's not bad either, just kind of back to seasonal.
Perfect. All right, thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
No runway for takeoff, no problem. Coming up, we show you a unique aircraft that you haven't seen in the skies just yet. Concern deepened today around the fate of patients inside Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. Access and communication remain blocked, and the World Health Organization is facing obstacles as it tries to organize an evacuation.
You need to secure security guarantees and safe passage for any convoy. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society says right now of the 25 ambulances they haven't had sufficient fuel to move north.
Israel provided video yesterday it said was proof Hamas was using the hospital to store weapons. That video has not been independently verified. Israel says it continues to comb the hospital floor by floor, and today claims it's uncovered a Hamas tunnel shaft at the hospital complex. In southern Gaza today, Israel told residents of 4 towns to leave. The World Food Program today said many Gazans now face the possibility of starvation. And the UN's Palestinian Agency chief said he believed its work there is being deliberately strangled. This year, Alberta witnessed its worst wildfire season on record. Now, as it gears up for the next time, the province has added a new tool to its firefighting arsenal. Julia Wong looks at how it works and what it could mean for the future.
It's a new way to attack wildfires from the air. This nighttime firefighting helicopter has different lighting inside and outside of the chopper, so the pilot and crews can wear night vision goggles. That allows teams to better navigate and see active parts of a fire in the dark.
Firefighting at night can be more effective due to lower temperatures, higher humidities. It's something that I think our organization could do better at, so we identified it as kind of something we could work on, and this aircraft is a tool to support not just aerial firefighting at night, but it can help to support ground firefighting like heavy equipment and crews.
Alberta is believed to be the only province in the country with this type of technology right now. The chopper was used several times this past wildfire season to do reconnaissance, go on water bombing runs, and move crews around at night. The province just got out of its worst wildfire season on record. Close to 1,100 wildfires burned more than 2.2 million hectares. Alberta Wildfire says this tool could give it the upper hand with future wildfires. But one expert says while there are advantages to this type of helicopter, it's best used when fire activity is calmer.
With the fires raging through the night, the helicopter won't be very efficient unless it's a small fire.
Flanagan says if the rollout here is successful, it could be a game changer for other fire agencies across the country. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Taking flight in a plane usually means cruising down a runway before lifting off, but this craft doesn't need any runway at all. It's called a black fly, and it takes off and lands vertically, almost the same way a helicopter does. The craft was designed in California, and the owner of this one says it took weeks of training at the company facility to be allowed to operate the black fly. He says he's the first person who wasn't a test pilot to be allowed to fly it. Well, how does one drive a pickup truck through a gap that's too narrow for it? Here's the new Guinness record holder, Paul Swift, showing us how. By driving on 2 wheels, he managed to squeeze his truck through an 88-centimeter gap. Across the globe, other talented people have also been busy in the lead up to today's Guinness World Records Day. From the new record for highest backflip pogo stick jump at just over 3 meters to the most number of consecutive full twist back somersaults. That's 11 in a row if you're wondering about breaking the record. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch The National tonight at 9 on CBC Network, 10 p.m. on CBC News app, CBC TV, and streaming. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.